Hello?
Yeah.
It's Mel.
Recording has started.
Hello, everyone.
All right, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I know I kind of joined a little late, but it's okay. I'm still here, ready for the topic.
Bless you. All right, well, we're going to get started. First off, we'd like to go with thank you all for joining in the CCC podcast tonight.
Yes.
We're not going to take up a lot of the time with the introduction because I'm sure this person has a mind-boggling topic. And with that being said, Tremel, the floor is yours.
Hey, okay. Hey, everyone's having a good night.
So far,
I'm really just gonna kind of just cut into it. I really just don't have much to say about it, but I'm gonna ask everyone to really just my topic for tonight is about your past and your future. And I kind of want to know how you guys have changed or would change about yourselves if you could go back in time, really. So my question really is, like, if you could turn back time and talk to your 18-year-old self or anything younger than that, what would you say? What would you tell yourself? How would you change something about yourself or, I don't know, what would you do?
Well, that don't go too far back. My 18-year-old self was only 3 years ago. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
All righty then.
I'm still there.
Yeah, that ought to sound like an interesting.
Well, for you, Adrian, go back to your 5-year-old self.
Oh, no.
Oh, my.
That was a stressful time in my life.
Oh, my. 18, huh? Well, I don't know. 18 was a pretty good time for me. I was freshman in college. Thought I knew it all. Definitely thought I had the answers to it all. You know, believed that the world rose and set on me. Kind of arrogant back then.
That's what you call an 18-year-old.
Yeah, I was kind of arrogant back then. But, I mean, I guess for me, if I was to change anything, I would want the knowledge back then that I have now. That would be the only thing that I would want to change. I would want the knowledge now that I have now. I would have wanted it back then. So I'm sure that would be a whole lot of things that were done differently.
The knowledge, you say?
Yeah.
You mean, would you go, like, a little bit further into that? Like, what type of knowledge would you say to yourself? Like, would you bring wisdom? Would you bring, like, a different mindset to it? Or would you bring, like, a lot more creative ways to helping yourself, like, financially or relationship? Or
it would be all. It would be all of that. It would be all of that, because if I was 18 with the knowledge I have now, I would know how to set myself for the future and couldn't wait for the next 18 years to see how well I did. But, I mean, I don't sit up and pull no punches about it with nobody. At 18, man, look, I was trying to hang out and hang in. You know, that wasn't a girl I saw that I figured I couldn't have if I wanted her. Because I just figured, hey, you know, that's for me. And that's how I went about things back then. You know, they always said conversation rule the nation. Imagine me with the conversation back then that I have now. I would be lethal. Or even the mindset. You know, even the mindset of an 18-year-old me with the mindset that I have now.
Okay. I like that answer.
Okay. This is Adrian, a little bit serious, more serious now. When I was 18, my mindset was completely different than it is now. I was in a different space, in a different situation, in a different time, in a different circumstance. When I was 18, I was in my first year of college because I went to college at 17. And it was a lot of firsts for me. It was my first time out on my own. It was the first time I had to make decisions on my own and trust myself and trust my ability to make good decisions. You know, when you're in college, you know, it starts with what do you want to do, what are you going to major in, you know, what organizations are you going to join. And it was a lot of pressure, you know, and I grew up as a sickly child, so I was always sick. So I was always in a protective mode. That's the best way I can put it, you know. When I was little, I couldn't go out and play with the other kids because, you know, you're going to catch something, you know. So all I kept thinking about is when I go to college, I'm going away. And nobody's going to tell me what to do. And I can go around who I want to go around. And I don't have to worry about them, you know, my parents telling me, no, you don't need to be doing that. You know, so I became a different person. And I know the question was about 18, but I was 17 when I left my parents' home and went away and became what I consider an independent woman as opposed to my parents' child. You know, so there was a lot of differences. You know, thought process, thought patterns. I learned a lot about myself. You know, I learned a lot.
You think that your younger self would listen to your older self? Like if you were to go back and talk to yourself about that? You think she would like really heed what you're saying and really pursue differently or handle different situations?
I would say yes and no. There's some things that, because I work with young people, that I talk to young people about, and if that was me giving myself this advice, would I listen? I don't know. You know, I've always been somebody that look at the person who's giving me the advice and go by that. And I think I'm a trustworthy person, but still I'm also an adult looking at something you're doing, and I will tell you if you're doing something wrong. And yes, I'm the type of person I would listen. You know, when I was a teenager, I didn't drink, I didn't smoke. I never said I didn't try it, but I didn't like the way it made me feel, and I didn't smoke those regular cigarettes or funny cigarettes. I didn't do that stuff that a lot of my peers were doing. And I've always been the one willing to step out and say, nah, y'all go ahead. Y'all go on. I'm not going to be a part of that. So I think part of that became my self-protective nature for my parents always being so protective over me. And I'm a long way from 18 now, and I think I'm still like that.
Okay. I like that answer. I like that a lot.
Well, I mean, Tremel, you asked the question, what about you?
If I could go back to my 18-year-old self?
That'd be about 3 years ago.
I mean, I was about to say, I realized that's what, about a couple of years?
I know, that's what I said. He sounds like it's like 2-3 years
Let's
ago.
let him get it. Let's let him get his thoughts together. I'm gonna put my little 2 cents worth in.
Okay.
While he's thinking about it.
Like everyone else.
But anyway, at 18, well, when I turned 18, 73, the legal voting age turned 18 that year, and in Texas, the legal drinking age was 18 as well until it changed to 21. But I said, we all say if we could go back to the age back then with the knowledge that we have now, we'd all be doing something slightly different. But the 18-year-old man is an 18-year-old man. It's still in the developmental stages, even till you probably get 22, 23. But 18 years old, I, like myself, left home, came to Louisiana on a track scholarship. And at that time, I had left a 4-month-old baby behind. So I had, but we had worked that out with the other parents, and my parents, supported my daughter, supported her mom, offered to do some things for her, which, some things work out, some things don't. But I was I was pretty much a follower back then. I'd catch a bunch of guys I see, and I like, okay, they cool. I'm going to hang with them. I'm going to do what I need to do to fit in. And that right there got me in a lot of trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Not, any jail time, anything like that.
Yeah, but it always gets you in trouble.
Yeah. I was doing some things when I should have been doing other things. And it took me, I'm going to almost say, excuse me, from the time I was 18 till I joined the Army at 32 to really figure out what I wanted to do with my life. Like I said, there was a lot of things. I would change, but like I say, you learn and you grow, and life experience is the best teacher.
That's right.
So that's my introduction to the piece, Brother Tremaine.
All right,
Good evening.
man.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
First, I would like that gentleman to take a deep breath and go get some water and clear your throat. straighten up. They say put your arms up, it helps air come through, put both arms up. So is the question or the topic about what would you do differently, or how do you view your 18-year-old self?
The question is how, if you could go back in time, say 18 preferably, would you, like, what type of, like, conversation would you have? Would you have, like, would it be inspiring to yourself? Would you be able to change anything differently about how things paved or you paved the path for yourself? Does that make sense? Like, how would you change anything differently if you could go back in time and talk to yourself at 18?
For me, I'm consistent, but the one thing I would have done differently in hindsight is I would have purchased a condo that was $22,000 offered to me. But at the time, being a renter, I was a child, but renting, even though we lived in houses, we lived in apartment buildings too, but usually like 2 or 3 family houses. We didn't own them, and the conversation about ownership wasn't a conversation that I heard. But I was offered a condo, a 2-bedroom condo for $22,000, and I couldn't understand the concept of buying an apartment. I could understand buying a house, but I didn't understand buying an apartment. And today, of course, it would probably be worth $1.2 million, because that was a very long time ago. Very, very, very long time ago, I'm happy to say. But that is the one thing I could say that I would do differently. And again, because I'm pretty much consistent in my flow of life and living since even before 18. I'm pretty consistent.
So you wouldn't change anything. You would keep everything the same. You wouldn't talk.
I'm sorry, say it again.
I said you wouldn't change anything if you could go back in time and talk to yourself. You wouldn't
Not about my life. No, not about my life.
Well, what does that mean exactly? Who else?
Well, other people's lives, I could see. So there are people who made decisions about their lives that didn't turn out very good. So if I could have stopped them from doing some of the things they were doing, then yeah. But my life, no. I mean, I've been flowing in the way that I flow today since I was probably 12 or 13. I kind of moved with, okay, so if I can ask you a question. May I?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Give me, ideally, 2 examples that maybe I'm not looking at to answer the question, right? So give me 2 examples. Like, okay, and here's an example too. I left high school when I was 18 in April because I knew I wasn't graduating in June. So there was no need for me to go back. If I knew I had to go back and make up credits, I'm like, okay, I'm finished here. I'll be back. So I left in April of 1980, and I registered with 3 temp agencies. And I worked temp through 3 agencies until September came in. And then I went back to school, got my credits, and graduated. And today I work about 4 or 5 different things now. So I'm really consistent. But it's like I kind of move with...
So, okay, one of the things that I'm going to ask you is how was your mental then? How was your mental? Was it completely... Has it changed since then? Like up to 2024?
I'm going to put...
Or has it been the same since 2024? And how were you when you moved out? Or when you went through, transitioning through stages of life?
So did you say how was my mental state?
Yes.
Like it is today. I'm sorry. So my mental state, again, okay, so at 18, like I say, in April of 1980, I left high school because I look at life as it is, and I don't play pretend. I don't see it, I don't do the woulda, shoulda, coulda, woulda, dida, you know. So when I realized what wasn't going to happen in June at the place I was at, I stopped going. I knew I was going to return, so I didn't drop out, but there was no need for me to continue if I wasn't going to pass and graduate. I got the credits that I did get, but I went to work, which was great. Learned a lot of different things because when you work through a temp agency, it gives you the opportunity to learn different skills, to do different assignments, go to different places, you meet different people. So that's what I did, and the flow that I did things in.
No, I was agreeing with you because I worked in a temp agency too. So yes.
And it's so beneficial. I mean, I even recommend it to young people, who are just graduating and starting out, not knowing where they want to go. Tell them register with some agencies. And the benefit of registering with more than one is that when you're on an assignment, as you know, it might be a 2 or 3 week assignment. The agency's calling you, another one is calling you to see if you're available, and you're like, yep, time sheets for all of them. Time sheets for all of them. And it worked out well. It worked out well. I'm sorry. 1 second, Adrian.
Go ahead.
It worked out well because, again, it gave me many different skills through the assignments and the meeting of people and the interacting with people. But I've been a sort of professional person since I was born, based on what they tell me, since I was born. So that's why I say, for me, I continue to live in the flow that I was created in. I don't live in a box, imaginary or real. I say you've never seen a pregnant woman with a square stomach. So if we did not develop square and in a box, I don't live in that type of environment. I'm just a free flowing spirit. Do the things I'm led to do, the things I feel good about doing. When I don't feel good about doing them anymore, I stop. No harm, no foul. I don't hurt people, but I also don't let them hurt me in any way, verbally, mentally, sexually. No, that won't be happening. As long as I can see, it coming. So, another example, maybe?
I don't think I have another example right now. But you did answer my question, though.
I thank you very much.
What I was trying to jump in and say, I was agreeing with you because that's how I started my work experience in temp agency. I loved it. Like you said, you can work 2 or 3 at the same time and have consistent work, but a variety of different work. And you can learn a lot of skills. I also worked the summer program, but the temp agency, I think, is where I got my best experience. Because once you know how to type and once you have a good reputation with the temp agencies, they send you all over. I worked in offices, I worked in recreation, I worked in, and so by the time I was in college, I had an idea of what I like and what I don't like, So, yeah, that's why I was trying to chime in when y'all were talking about temp agencies. And I tell a lot of young people, like you said, especially if they decide they're not going to college, work temp agencies. I don't know how steady it is these days, but it used to be steady work.
If I may, Adrian, I'm actually planning to start. I'm going to start a staffing agency, a nationwide staffing agency. It's been on my mind since the 90s. That's the other thing, Tramel. I'm very ideaful. I get a lot of ideas. I receive a lot of ideas, but I share them because I'm a receiver and a deliverer of information. But in the 90s, that is an idea that I had. So I plant seeds, and however it happens. I don't work at them. It's just when it's time to fulfill, if it is for me, then I do it. But I am going to start a nationwide staffing agency. And I'm going to use a security firm from CCC, to assist with that. Continue.
Okay. Does anyone else have an answer to the question?
Well, we want to hear what you say.
Okay. I'm 24. I was born in 99, and honestly, if I could go back in time and talk to myself when I was 18, I'd probably say 17 for real for me. I would change a lot about myself because I didn't really grow up with a father to help me with a lot of personal issues. Growing up to be a man and learning how a man should do things, and let alone financially and mentally, I would say that I didn't really have much experience or guidance by it. And honestly, I would say that for myself, I would be a lot more open to it in a way. I would tell myself hey, let's start something the other day. This is probably bad for me to be learning about this now, but it's good that I'm starting now of a Roth IRA. If I would have learned something like that or really just paid attention to it in high school, especially when I was 17, I could have started my retirement plan a lot more earlier than 24. Shoot. I think 24 is still a great age to start it, let alone if you are in your 30s or 40s. You can start it whenever, really, but it's best to start it whenever you're younger. That way you can build it up a lot sooner. Of course, you guys know that. If you don't, I just gave you a little tidbit on it. But things like that, like building my financial wealth or building my my wealth up, because I didn't come from a family where I was financially able or financially ready. I think my family really was just on, if you're in the moment, you're in the moment. And we grew up differently. I would say, even your traditional, your struggle meals from time to time, your fried bologna sandwiches, or your pork and beans, or your just something different like ramen we used to eat all the time, and or chicken, handmade or store bought, stuff like that. I'm just saying, if I would have been around in a different environment like that growing up, maybe I would be a little different now, because we didn't really focus on things like that, trying to build generational wealth. That's one thing I would talk to myself about if I could go back when I was 17 or 18. Mentally, I would check in on myself and if I could, have continuous conversations with myself, check in on myself and make sure I'm doing the right thing, and just making sure that I'm able to handle a lot of pressure, because a lot of things like getting older, I feel like you get overwhelmed a lot. You can get overwhelmed with a lot of stressful situations, and you got to know how to handle those. You can't really like blow up. And personally, I've had way too many experiences with blowing up on people, and that they don't even deserve it because I'm handling or I'm taking on too much of my own pressure or too much pressure from stressful situations. And I would tell myself, like, hey, calm down, or like, it's okay. It's okay. Like, take a breather, chill out, just check in. Like really, take a breather, because my dad or my mother wasn't really like, big advocates on trying to work out a stressful or pressure-filled situation. It was always blow up in the moment and stay hot. It was never like, hey, let's calm down, let's talk about it, let's sit down and let's really just think this through. Like that, like mentally I was a hothead. And I would definitely change that about myself. I would also change where I put my time in. And I go back to like little like financial things. Like really, if I would have started doing like stock marketing or really got after like business wise things after high school, I definitely would have been a lot more creative and on a different path for finances. I would definitely have changed that. I started now. Trust me, I started now. But if I would have started when I was 17, 18, I'd have been a lot better. Would have. But really I could really talk about it all night, but I ain't gonna talk y'all ear off like that. But I just would say a few things like that, like trying to change things about myself that I just as y'all say, like a few years back, but it is the truth. I would definitely change it about myself and move forward. If I had the mindset that I have now and brought that to my 18 or 17, 18-year-old self, I'd probably be in a way better situation, and I would be a lot more calmer than I am. But yeah.
That's great. May I say something?
Yes. You may.
So at 24, I feel like you have a head start because, as you know, there are people in their 30s wishing and hoping the same thing, wishing they did something different. So you have 6 or 7 years up and an open mind to doing great. And by 30, you could be set. Whereas if you started at 30, it might take you to 50 to get set. But I just believe everything happens in its time, and our experiences is what leads us to where we are. Because I always reference Michelle Obama's book, Becoming. We're always becoming. We're not finished. But when you can reflect back on your life and your choices, those are lessons in your story. That is his story, literally. And you're taking that history and setting a path for yourself to be successful. So it's really a win-win. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
And you may want to also look into, with the along with the IRAs, maybe some universal life or whole life insurance, if it fits into your budget, because they both build very good cash value. That's in some cases non-taxable when you want to take some of that cash value and invest it in something greater and bigger, and still maintaining your face value. Not giving what you have, but just creating a diversified portfolio.
Nah, I agree. I definitely agree with that. I actually started some life insurance the other day.
Ding.
Started both of them.
That's great.
Yeah. Anyone else have any comments or want to chime in on their thoughts?
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't have any sage words of wisdom, so to speak, but just thinking back to, first of all, my 16-year-old self, I think I would have changed the way I was thinking because I had that small town thinking. And as far as 18, I've heard bits and pieces of things I've said and done in just about everybody's comments. And I would definitely, like Hamp, want the information and the wisdom that I have now back then. And when it came to college, I could not wait to get out of Mayberry RFB, and that's what I did. So in that respect, I wouldn't change that, but I would change the mindset that I had when I got to college. And I tell myself two things: dream and live. Because I could not grasp what my life would be like past that point. I couldn't see myself with kids. I couldn't see myself with a career. I couldn't see myself doing this or doing that. But we were told that, we were to expect to do and be all these things, but I couldn't wrap my mind around it. So that's what I tell myself. Just dream and live. And the thing is, you don't always have to dream big. I mean, they say dream big. Yeah, you can do that, but just have a dream. Something that you can hold on to, something you can work toward, something that you can expand and expound on. Mm-hmm. And that's what I tell myself.
I agree with that.
Hello, this is Angela. This question was a little triggering for me because you guys know me, who I am now. I talk, I'm personable, I'm outgoing, or at least I hope I seem to be that way, and pretty confident in who I am. My 18-year-old self was nowhere near there. Transparent moment, if I was to tell my 18-year-old self something right now, it would be, you are enough.
Mm-hmm.
Their issues are not your issues. You, as my friend just said, you need to live. Because my 18-year-old self knew what I wanted, had a goal in mind, steadfast in my goal, but because of my own insecurities, I came back home because home was comfortable. I came back home to a guy that I knew was no good for me and stayed with him another 6 years. Battling back and forth with myself because I believed what I was told. I internalized my past. I internalized seeing toxic relationships and thought that that was okay. And knew that I had daddy issues. And that's probably why I was with the person I was with. But couldn't get out of the cycle. I was a hamster running on a wheel, a toxic wheel. And so I never thought I was good enough for anything more than what I was or what I was in or what I had. And so it took a lot of years to get off that wheel. And honestly, probably around 49, 50, and I'm 51, is when I finally understood what it was to live and that I'm good enough. And it took some great, great people that reinforced that with me all the time. It took a friendship with a perfect stranger for me to understand just how special I am. And so I would have told my 18-year-old self, you're good enough, and you deserve the best.
I like that. I like that a lot, actually. I think self-evaluation is really good, and that would definitely mean a lot, especially coming from yourself.
Definitely.
Okay. Does anyone else have something they would like to say or share at this time? Okay. Anyone else on the line?
Did I run everybody off?
I hope not.
Can you just repeat the question topic?
I asked if you could go back in time, 18 years old, preferably, if not younger, or just somewhere in the middle, between where you are now, what would you say to yourself? How would you change anything differently? Like, going forth, like, mentally, like, would you change yourself mentally? Would you express yourself financially or change yourself financially? Would you change something, like, whatever it may be? What would you change? What would you tell yourself, your younger self? Can everyone hear me? Hello?
Yeah, we hear you.
Yes,
Okay.
we do.
All right, just making sure. If I'm talking too softly, just let me know. I'll adjust.
Food for thought.
You know, and I would say for me, another thing I would change would be my health.
That's a good one.
18, I was a bull, didn't care.
A bull.
A bull. So I would say my health would be the biggest thing. I mean, it ain't the worst now, but it was better then than what it is now. Now, you asked the question, would myself listen?
Yeah. Would you
No.
Yeah, I think that's the honest answer there. You said I think it was, I don't want to say the wrong statement here, but you said he was arrogant. You couldn't. Yeah, you said yourself was like that.
Yeah,
which is understandable.
Listen for what? Why would I listen to me now? I got this.
Do you think the wisdom that you obtained? Do you think with the way you talk now, do you think that you could kind of persuade yourself to listen in? Because yeah, arrogance is there. I think that's in most of us, for real. I'm not saying the conversation in all of us who said something on the line tonight would be like, an easy one, but it would be a little bit arrogant because
I said it because I know for me, I was that let me try this kind of person. And I wasn't scared to do nothing. If it worked out, fine. If it didn't, hey, we're gonna keep it moving.
Right.
So listening, nah, probably not. I would probably tell my older self to go sit down somewhere. Have a Coke and a smile and leave me to y'all alone. Yeah. So it would have to be some real, never heard before stuff in order for me to listen. Because like I said, at 18, I figured I'd done it all.
Yeah.
And I would even say that up until I graduated college and I moved to California. California is where I got my eyes open as to all of what I really didn't know or what I really didn't have a clue about because I hadn't been anywhere but in Leesville. But when I hit the city, it was like, oh, my goodness.
Your mind, world opened up, huh?
The blinders didn't come off, they fell off. Because it was very little being out on your own that anybody can conceal you from.
Yeah.
And in a place like California, bright lights, big city, you want to see. You want to see, you want to go, you want to explore. You want to definitely see if what you've been seeing on TV is real. I remember the first time I went to Venice Beach. That was real. People roller skating up and down the boardwalk, all out on the beach, They down on one end, they lifting weights and all of that. All of that was real. Them girls ain't got on nothing. That was real.
Yeah.
You know, because I can remember California was the first time I had ever seen a real crackhead walking in the middle of the street on an early Saturday morning, butt naked.
That's crazy.
I'd never seen anything like that down here.
Culture shock, huh?
Yeah, but I'm sitting at a red light, and here comes this lady walking across front of me, just as naked as a black top is black.
Not a black card, feels black.
Hey, I say, you have got to be kidding me. You know, I ate chili tamales at the original Tommy's over on Sunset Boulevard. That was real. I rode down Mulholland Drive. That's real. I almost killed myself because it was dark and I didn't know it. And there was a lot of curves. I almost ran off in the top of somebody's house. But that was real.
Wow.
So, you know, leaving here, going there, I had to listen. Because that's why I'm still alive. Because it's the things you don't know in the city that'll kill you.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
Sound like my cousin. He used to have us laughing. My cousin who grew up down south all his life. The first time, I think he was 17 or 18. We grew up in New York City, deep in New York City, and our hangouts were like 42nd Street, you know, and places like that, Central Park. And when he first came up there, that's what I'm laughing because that's what reminded me of him. He was in awe. He said, people are in the street doing that? They on the train. We were on the train, and he said a homeless guy had to go to the bathroom. Not on the platform, on the train. And he pulled out his pants and sat, bent over and took a dump. And everybody just got up nicely and walked away. And he stood there, and I said, Willis, come on, what do you? No, he really did that. He really did that. I said, Willis, come on, let's go, let's go. We're not gonna stand around and watch him, you know. But he was just in awe, and he said that even to this day, I bet you, I haven't spoken to him in a while. That's when I really learned about real life. And there are really people like that, not just on TV. He said, go to New York City, spend a week. You don't want to spend a week walking around the streets in New York City.
And in my opinion, anytime you come from small town USA and you hit bright lights, big city, it is a true culture shock.
Yeah, he was.
You know, California was the first place I had a woman approach me about having sex. Because where I come from, that's what the man do. But out there, it didn't matter.
Another funny story. We have transvestites, you know, what they call especially in the village. And when a woman comes up to you, a tall woman, dressed real nice, makeup real nice, and proposes, wrong word, you got to be careful. And I used to tell him, I said, look for the Adam's apple. What do you mean? What do you mean? I said, look for the Adam's apple. You know. And it was about the third time somebody propositioned him before he go, oh, that's a dude? Like, yes, that's a dude. Women don't have Adam's apples. You know, so he had an education. He didn't come back too often. I think it scared him a little bit. Because we was always saying, don't talk to that person.
Because, you know, one of the horror stories I remember was I was told, don't get caught walking in Long Beach Park at dusk dark. See, because that's when the gays come out. And I was taking the shortcut going over to my cousin's. And I'm about midway to the park. I had on a dark blue pullover shirt and some white jeans, white tennis shoes. And I'm walking through the park. And I'm about halfway there, and I hear something like, hey. Didn't see nothing, kept walking. I heard it again. Hey, wait up. And I turned around, and it was this guy. I'm like, so I started walking faster. Well, they started walking faster. So I speed up a little more. They speed up a little more. Next thing I know, here, it was an all-out sprint. And they right there. They running. We all running.
Not a full-on sprint between the two of y'all.
You know, and I got to the steps of my apartment complex, and he just happened to be out there, and I'm out of breath. He's like, what's wrong with you? I say, something was chasing me. And he said, I was probably one of them faggots in the park, and over there, one of them gay guys, because I told you, don't come through there. Come around the street. And I'm like, dude, I can't do this. I'll never walk over here again. But ever since that day, I've never owned another pair of white jeans.
And they probably was nice and skin tight too.
Oh. Yes, I've never owned another pair of white jeans. No, we ain't gonna do this no more, ever.
You're so impressionable.
Well, I mean, back then I was, like I said, coming from a small town USA, coming to the city, it's like, whoo, wow. You know, this is stuff you see on TV. No, this is real life, son.
Mm-hmm.
This is how they live out here.
That's right.
You know, I didn't even know what a sherm stick was when I hit California.
A sherm stick?
Yeah. See, you don't even know what one is now, do you?
I ain't gonna lie. I don't even know what it would even be.
I don't know what a sherm stick is, but it don't sound complimentary.
It don't.
It certainly doesn't.
Otherwise known as angel dust and PCP.
Exactly.
Oh.
Wow.
I worked in at a drug substance abuse clinic, and I still never heard that. But I guess I was on the wrong side of the world.
You could take a regular cigarette
and put some PCP
dip it in formaldehyde, put PCP and all of that around it.
We did that in New York. We did that in New York. They did that in New York. I never did it. But I didn't.
I about to say, I heard we. Did anybody else hear we? I heard we. We did that. Oh, my.
No, I mean, New Yorkers did that.
Yeah, I like I said, that was the first time I'd ever seen or heard anything like that. And my cousin then was telling me, that's what that dude on right there. He high. And I'm like, but he gave him a cigarette. Yes, that's when they explained to me what it was. Said, and some of them put them on the rack, put them in the oven, let them dry, put them back in the carton of cigarettes, take them outside, and they sell them $20 a cigarette. I'm like, what?
Yep, they do.
I'm like, wow.
North Carolina, not California.
Man. So, yeah, you know, like I said, 18, I probably wouldn't listen to me at all. But by 20, yeah. It'd be one of them self, you need to sit down and shut up because you're about to learn something. You need to sit down and shut up because you're about to learn something that could possibly save your life.
Especially when somebody is trying to tell you is an older uncle that used to run the streets.
Yeah. You know, that was where, like I said, my eyes were opened. The blinders didn't come off, they fell off. Because whatever you thought I knew, I found out I didn't know half of what I thought I did. Because it's a whole different game. But it does prepare you for any other place that you may go to.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know I'd heard a whole bunch of dings earlier.
I heard them too.
And ain't nobody on the line but us, but for 3 or 4 people, I know better.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Reorient the question just a little bit. Since I'm probably the only one with younger children on the line, what advice can I give my kids when they turn 18?
Ooh. Your life experiences.
Yeah, I would honestly say that. Like, how would you want them to learn differently how it wasn't taught to you? Like, I went over, like, for me, like financial wealth, growing up. Like if I would have started my Roth IRA or anything financially that would help me out for my retirement. I mean, I'm not saying it's bad now, but it's a start now. There'd be a lot more money in the future. That's one thing I would definitely talk to them about, or tell them once they're 18, implement that in their head and really push forward with it. I would also make sure like development for their mental. If you haven't already started doing that, I would talk to them about, having stronger goals in life. Preaching to them that, it's a new era, and of course you're going to grow up in a different world than what I grew up in, and you have everything at your fingertips. Use all the things that's around you and really progress in life.
And I would go along with a lot of that.
Can I say something?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
I would say be straightforward, because that's what worked with me. My father was a street guy. He was in gangs and stuff. And when he sat us down And we just noticed in talking to each other because it was all individually. He was honest. You know, I got out of high school. I wanted to be the cool cat. He said I got in gangs. You know, I did this, and this. I'm not proud of it, but I don't want you to get into it. And the thing was, and we knew that was his background because we had gangs in the community that we lived in. And my father was what they considered an OG. You know, this person that was in gang and they go to for advice. And the one thing he always said to them, do not let any of my children get recruited into gangs. And I didn't realize it because I knew it. I remember when he said it to him. But my sister tried to get into a gang when she was in junior high school, and they wouldn't let her. And Linda's like, I don't know why, you know, I can fight, I can do this. And we found out as adults that my father had put that rule out on the street. Do not recruit any of my children into gangs. Mm-hmm. And none of us end up getting in a gang, including the one that was trying to get into a gang. But he was honest with us. And my mother was honest. My mother and I used to wonder, how did they get together? Because my mother with my father were totally different. My mother was that homebody. You know, she stayed home. My grandmother worked. She made sure my uncles, her two brothers, did their homework after school. My father was in the streets at that same age, from the time he was 12, running with the bad boys. And the only thing, and he admitted this to her and in front of us, the kids, only reason why he's still alive today, because he fell in love with my mother, and she said, only way I'll marry you is if you go into the Army. And he said the next week he signed up for the Army. He said, but he believed he'd probably be dead in somebody's graveyard today if it wasn't for her. He said, because that was my focus. That's what I thought real life was. Doing what I want to do, not doing what mommy and daddy say I have to do. I'm in the streets. I had money all the time. I had weapons. I wasn't scared of nobody. But, you know, but I guess it was 8 of us. So I guess each of us took that information differently. But I appreciated him being honest with me, not have me thinking that he was perfect. You know, he said, I did wrong. I made bad decisions. But I don't want you to make bad decisions. You know, I did some jail time. I don't want you to do jail time. He said, I did it so my kids don't have to do it. So there's no reason for you all to be getting in that kind of trouble. And so all the boys in my family went into the service, and all the girls went into, he tried to get us all to take city jobs so you have stability. I'm the only one that went to college, you know. But that's just my advice. I like the fact that they went that route. Well, to be honest, at 18, you can't talk to me about relationships.
Mm-hmm. But I think that's what parents basically have to do, tell the kids the truth. And, you know, surround the kids and tell them the truth and make sure that you also have rules and what you expect of them. But some parents, they shut down their kids when they start to talk to them. They don't want to hear what the kids have to say also. And kids have friends, and friends have friends, and sometimes that's how we get into stuff. So it's getting away from things, but telling the kids the truth, speaking to them when they want to speak to you. It might be a busy time when they come, but, you know, sort of make time for your kids. And kids learn from what they see going on in the household. So they have their own minds and they have their own opinions. But kids learn from what they live.
Right. And I love that poem. That's a famous poem, Children Learn What They Live.
Yeah.
You know? And I would talk to my friends the same way my father spoke to us. You know, one of my best friends, she wanted to get into a girl gang. And I talked her out of it. I said, you know, they either end up dead or in jail. You see so-and-so, she said, you see she got shot? I said, I look at that. That's reality. I don't want to do that. I don't like that.
That's what some neighborhoods and some of the kids in the neighborhoods perpetrate, that, you know, you have to be in a gang to be safe or to get money or to get protection. Mm-hmm. And some kids fall for it. So, you know, I also believe in giving kids like an extracurricular activity Mainly, I do like karate or kung fu at the time, but I do like that sort of thing. Give them something to do, learn music, something to keep their mind just not on one thing. Because now, kids now, you telling them something, they could go to their computer and their phone and get the answer if you tell them a lie. That's the first thing.
Right.
And the other thing about it is that kids are, they're generally natively brighter than us. They're more open to a lot of things, and the school teaching different things, and they have questions also about what the school teaching them and what you teach them. So it's so many things that disparity between the 80s and the 90s and this generation. So you have to really sort of establish some rapport with them about what's going on. Or, you can't just say, oh, don't listen to that music, don't watch that TV show. Most kids have a bedroom with a television and a computer. When you were growing up, most of the time you share a bedroom with whichever same sex, girls in one room, boys in one room, parents in the other room. Sometimes it might even be worse. So when you say go to your room, it's not denying them anything. They have their own, and some parents even tell the kids they could bring the boyfriend home. So you have to establish what your priorities are.
Yeah.
What you
want to set, what standards you want to set. I had a quick story I just thought of. I used to have foster kids, and they were like 6 and up, and I was on a train. I had 3 of them on a train in New York, and we were in New York, and we were going into Manhattan. And, people who don't know, the village is where, all the gays and everything are. And these 2 guys got on the train, and they sat down next to each other, and they was all hugged up, and they was holding hands and shoulders together. And my little 6-year-old foster child said, Miss Adrian, that's not right, is it? he didn't know what was wrong, but he knew something was wrong with this picture.
Right. Yeah.
And I said, no, that's not the norm, but, some people are different. He pointed over to that. I said, don't point at him. I said, but no. That's not right. Like something wrong with this picture, But but kids know. So I believe honesty and is the best policy. Because, like she said, they'll turn on the TV and see something else.
And kids are learning well. You could learn every day, every hour, up to, whatever age you are, you can learn something from kids.
Mm-hmm.
They keep us alive, they keep us young, and we could learn from them, as old as we are, as all the mistakes we make, and we're still making mistakes, we try to do better every day. So we have to, kids do the same thing. They try to do better and they make mistakes too. But I think setting goals for kids and, sort of help them to carry it out. And the same way you do for yourself, when you're setting your goals, you do it for yourself. And I like when parents include kids in everything. Financial discussion, food, going shopping, tell them why you don't like what they like. And,
real life stuff. When the only time you talk to them is when you're saying, I don't want to. I don't want you hanging around that girl, or I don't want you hanging over there. They stop listening to you because there's no conversation, there's no back and forth. Have a conversation. Let them know that you're listening to them.
Hey, listen, shopping just.
Well, yeah, like everybody's saying, it would just be being real.
Right.
Right.
Don't sugarcoat anything because the world doesn't sugarcoat anything.
That's right.
Don't tell your daughter you don't want her playing with that little girl because she got stomach bumps. No, she was pregnant.
People do that.
Yes.
Oh, my God. Yeah, but then again, and the other part of this process is that dads, fathers, they seldom get into conversation, especially with girls. They seldom get into things and, give them the real deal also. And that's one of the things, kids only have sometimes mothers to get into conversations. So a lot of, they don't have any place to go to find out about the male side and the male perspective about things, or the men to come and tell them the real deal. So again, it's only girls and friends they have to go on. So that needs to get into the show too.
I'd like to share something with everyone.
Go ahead.
Young lady said she may have some younger people on the line, and she want to know what advice to give an 18-year-old. And, one of the first things I would say, teach them the mic. I think Tremaine had mentioned this earlier. Set realistic goals. Try to set yourself up financially. And I'm going to give you a speech about nothing. And I was just flipping through the TV one day, and old Nick Saban, the coach at Alabama, they always try to catch him short. Try to throw questions at him to throw him off. He said, I'm going to give you a speech about nothing. I think they might have lost that day. And he broke it down like this. You are entitled to nothing.
Yeah.
Nobody owes you nothing.
I've heard that before.
If you don't work, you get nothing. That's the speech on nothing. So I just thought I would throw that out there to the group. Because we live in a generation right now, a lot of people think they're entitled due to certain,
to something.
The way they were brought up, political views, this and that, it's crazy. And, I think if somebody use that motto and you work, be a hard worker, try to set yourself up for success. A lot of time it don't work out the way we want it to, but that's why you be persevering, just be resilient, keep kicking, don't give up, don't ever give up.
And that's excellent advice for young people. Don't give up.
Yeah. Don't give up. But they have to know the truth. That's one thing. The truth, as they say, will set you free. You have to tell them. I used to tell my daughter when we first started off here, we had 1 bedroom, and she wanted a 2-bedroom apartment because she wanted her own room, which she had before. And I said to her, this is what I make. This is the bills. This is your school fees. This is the food. If you could find a 2-bedroom with this salary and all this expensive, go right ahead. I guess she's still looking for it. But she got her own house. But that's the thing, they have expectations that they think you're supposed to supply them with. And when you don't, they're ready to get it. I said, you know what, this is what I make. This is what we eat, spend, groceries, lights, gas, transport, school fees. You knock yourself out. I didn't hide how much I made. And when she started making money, she was making more money than me. And she was saving more money than I could even save. Yep. I used to just laugh because she didn't even want to buy what I bought. Everything was about savings. I have to save this. I must have this kind of money. I want to get a car. I must have this kind of money. She want to go on a trip. She must have this kind of money. But when I was doing it, it had no regard for me. So we talk about that and sometimes laugh and joke about it, but I always remind her, when she started working, she was making like $100 more than me. Did she say, let me split the extras with you? Oh, no. So I always say, you have to tell them the real deal. You got to sit down and tell them. They mightn't like it, but this is it. You can tell your friends what you want to tell your friends. But this is me. This is what I experience it, and this is how it is. And I always tell her, go to school, get your education. You can do whatever you want. Just don't bring no boys in here for babies to tell me anything about you all having a baby, and don't bring no drugs in here. That will be the end.
That was my mother's rule. Don't bring no babies here. And my first sister tried it. My younger sister, and she came home and announced that she's pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother said, I love you, and I'll always be there for you, but where are you going to live? Because you're not bringing a baby in here. She said, I'm the only one that brings babies in here. And she had to move. And my mother helped her out, her first, helped her with the deposit for her first apartment. And she said it to both of them, her and the father. And my mother, she said, I'll help you out, but you can't stay here. I'm not raising no more babies in this house. This is my house. I'm done.
Yeah, because then somebody else will try the same thing too. It will be an ongoing parade.
Right. So,
but kids, I think talking to kids help a lot, taking them out, showing them different things, I have kids who live in Brooklyn, never even went to the Bronx or Queens.
Yeah.
Never went anywhere else but Brooklyn and Manhattan. And most of the times it's a store.
And I thank God all the time when I meet people that's gone, because my mother took us out. My mother took us out of Brooklyn. We went to Queens. I remember she took me when I was 15. She took me to Queensboro Community College because that's where she was going to school. So she took me to school with her. She also took some classes at New Rochelle College, and she took me to class. And that's why I was determined. I'm going to college. I'm the only one in my family of 8 kids that went to college. But she exposed me to that at a young age. She knew what I liked. She took me to museums. We went to, she's the one that started me going to the Apollo. When I got of age, I was at the Apollo Theater every Wednesday for amateur night. I was addicted to that place. But she was the one that introduced me to that,
New York is it has so many things. Expos, that expo that was in Queens, I can't even remember what is the name now. In the early 70s. It had so many museums.
The car expo. I used to go every year until I moved from there. I went to the car expo to see all the cars out.
It had zoos. So many things you could do. I mean, everything was a train station, a subway fare away. Because the subway goes anywhere you want to go in the 5 boroughs. So I don't know, to the beach and all that. I don't know what people think about keeping their kids locked up in their house and, have them there and saying I don't have money or whatever. Take them a day on the beach.
I worked my first real job, I call it real job because I had benefits and everything, after I graduated college, was with the Department of Children and Family in the group homes. I would take those kids all over. Them kids ain't never been on They grew up in New York, never been on a subway before.
That's what I'm telling you.
We would get on the subway and go to Coney Island, and they were like, you can go to good places on the subway. I said, yeah. And the subways were nicer back then. They weren't like they are now.
I babysit for a boy lived directly opposite Central Park, and he had never been to Central Park, never walked through Central Park. And it was like, when I go to pick him up, I used to pick him up from school and take him until his parents get home. And a lot of times they give me money for a cab fare. So we used to be his school was on the east side and they lived on the west side. And we used to walk through there.
Walk through the
take
park.
Take the money and buy some everything that he never had in his mouth. He tried walking through Central Park. He was Puerto Rican and white. And he's like, what is that? I never had it. What is that? I never saw that. It was a learning experience for me and for him, but I didn't let him know I didn't know either. The skate and
that's where my sister lives. My sister lives right on 92nd Street in Central Park West.
There's so much things you can do in this America, from whichever state you live in. The libraries tell you all that you could get free. All that where you could visit, you mightn't have a subway system, but somehow you could get along, a bus or something that people don't do. They don't go with their kids. They don't even go to church with their kids. And I always say, if at least, give them some sort of spirituality, something to hold on to. It mightn't be a church. It could be Muslim. It could be what, But
there's a lot of churches that have good children's ministries.
Yes, a lot of churches. They have summer camps, something they could do. But we just think about, basically a lot of people do, this almighty dollar. And
a lot of these camps for kids are free. You heard of the Fresh Air Fund camp? I'm talking to everybody, not just Beverly. The Fresh Air Fund camps, they're free. Especially,
just have to apply.
Angela, if you have foster kids, most of the time those kids, it's free for them to go to camp. They go for 2, sometimes 3 weeks.
I tell you, people do not. They really don't utilize the things that they could do for their kids, and even, like I said, even for seniors. I have learned so much things that seniors, the price cuts. I couldn't wait to be a senior because the cost of things went down, so that you could do stuff, gym memberships. There's so many things you could explore and do.
I was just saying the other day, I said 2 more years and I can get, I was saying it when I was 60, 2 years and I can get my AARP discount card.
Listen, grocery shopping, you get a discount on a certain day of the week.
Yeah.
Train fares are half price, airline fares. It's so many things you could get as a senior and you could utilize. People really, I guess society, if you do stuff, they think that you're doing it because, you don't have the money. But it's a nice way to get together with groups of people your age. It's like grown folks, They tell somebody something, and if they want to apply it, or you cook a meal and you give somebody who's sick, or you visit somebody, so many things you can do for people to enhance your own life, and your kids.
And I'm always trying to do something for other people. Because it really does enhance my own life. It makes me feel good.
Right.
Hello?
Feel good.
Yeah.
Oh, hi. My name is Michael. I just want to call in and say hello. And I heard you guys talking about kids. And one of the most important things I think people should teach their kids is how to be independent, how to cook, how to wash, how to clean up, how to be aware of their friends who might get them in trouble.
Yes.
You need to get away from, you have friends that are troublemakers, and you'll wind up hanging out with them, getting in trouble too. You have to teach them that. You have to stay away from friends like that because in the long run, they can hurt you.
Yeah, and they're not.
So when they think they're friends, they think they are friends, but you got to learn that.
Learn what they're talking about also, because then that's the only way when you get into trouble. You don't have to not be their friend.
Excuse me.
Excuse us. We don't mean to cut anyone off. Yeah, but it's we went past our time.
Oh, it's past time.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Appreciate you.
You're
Appreciate the comment that last.
But we'll be here again next week.
Hey, we need someone to stop the recording. I don't know if the person that started it said they had to go pick up their son.
Right.
But we need someone to stop the recording, please.
I don't know. Is it Gardner on?
I don't think so.
Okay. Star 91. I think it's star 91.
Yeah, you can do star 91. I tried to start the recording, but I didn't get to dial in as the host because someone else was on the line doing some training.